Hey, what's up guys? My name is Cameron Gallagher from We Were Film, and today we're talking about some lens effects filters. So, let's get into it. So I have to say, I've been fairly skeptical of lens effects filters for quite some time now because I really just thought they were kind of like one-trick ponies. Not saying that I couldn't use them or I couldn't see using them, but again, they just kind of felt like something you would use so specifically that you wouldn't want to really invest that much money into. And that's the other thing is a lot of these were very, very expensive. And again, to pay a lot of money for something that you're going to use once or twice just didn't really seem worth it to me. So in my eyes, lens effects filters were really cool and something you could use, but it just didn't feel like something that I would use that often. Now I have to say, I have succumbed to the massive amount of marketing from the Prism lens effects company. So if you're out there, you've probably seen a million ads for the Prism lens effects, and I gotta say, their ads are super catchy. Now, I have nothing to do with Prism lens effects at all. Did not send these over. I bought them with my own money because honestly, I saw the ads so many times, I wanted to just check them out and see if they worked. So Prism lens effects, your advertising worked. So I picked up the Dream effects filter and also this like Prism style filter. I think it's called the linear Prism filter. I'll leave, of course, all the links in the description below. But I have to say that I've been very, very impressed with these filters, and I think they're a lot better than I originally thought. So the Dream FX filter is basically kind of like a black pro mist or a contrast filter, something that blooms the highlights and creates a little more of a film look to it. Now the Dream FX filter is a little more intense than some of the lower sort of basic black pro mist filters in the sense that it's more of a true dream. So the Dream FX filter is kind of just like the name. It is much more of a dreamy sort of surreal vibe than something like some of the Black Pro Mist 1.8 and 1.4s. So the Dream FX filter is great if you want to really bloom out those highlights, create really smooth skin tones, and just have this kind of dreamy surreal factor. Now I will say I don't think it's too over the top. It's not like some of the really crazy ones like the Black Pro Mist 2 where it's just way over the top and you'd probably never use it. I do feel like the Dream FX has kind of found that perfect middle ground where it feels dreamy and kind of surreal and creamy, and of course those highlights are blooming very well, but it doesn't ever feel fake or like overdone where it kind of just feels gross and odd. So you can see here I put it head to head with my Black Pro Mist 1.4. Now this is probably a lot closer to the actual Dream FX than the 1.8 I have. So you can see with no filter on there, the image is pretty sharp. Now this is shot on a vintage glass, but again, it's fairly sharp, it's clean, there's not really much going on to it. And when you add the Black Pro Mist 1.4, you can obviously see there's a lot more blooming, it's a lot smoother, and there's less contrast in the image. And you can see with the Dream FX lens filter on there, it just adds a little bit more. And in my opinion, I actually think I kind of like it a little bit more because although it's slightly more intense than the 1.4, as you can see, it adds just a little bit more of something to it. I really can't put my finger on what exactly it is. I think it's just maybe it's ever so slightly more, but it feels a little more smooth and a little less just, I don't know, I think the 1.4 can be just a little bit too subtle sometimes. And I like that this Dream FX one just feels really natural. Now mind you, these are on vintage lenses, so it's a little bit amplified than it normally would be, but I still do really like it. So you can see here in this shot I have without the filter, you can see again, it's very contrasting, the image is very sharp. This is still the vintage lens, so it's a little bit creamier than maybe my Sigma Art lenses or a Canon L lens, but again, it's sharp, it's tacked, there's a lot of contrast. And when I add on that Dream FX lens filter, you can see how much those highlights bloom, and it seems to just wrap around. And that's kind of one of the things I love about these filters, and in particular this Dream FX, is it sort of wraps the light around my face. You can see it almost halo around the edges of my face and hair. And I think that has a true, at least more true to film look. And again, it just has this really nice kind of smooth and vintage feel to it. It's very pleasing to the eye, especially if you're doing things like skies or people's skin. I think just a lot of different situations this can come in handy. I didn't want to make this a Black Pro Mist versus the Dream FX filter, but I will say in general, I feel like I'm going to be reaching more for the Dream FX filter. I actually have it on right now, so I feel like I'll be reaching for that more than I will be the Black Pro Mist. I'm still happy that I have the Black Pro Mist 1.4 and 1.8. That way it can take a little bit of a digital edge off, but I do think that this Dream FX is a little bit more my taste and something that I'll probably use more often, especially if I'm bringing home that really vintage or sort of dreamy feel to it. Again, this doesn't mean it has to be a dream sequence at all. I just think it has a smoother, more analog style film look to it than that more harsh digital edge to it. I just like the way that this works with the image. I don't feel like it's too much, and I feel like it's not also color casting or doing anything else. And it's super easy to put on, so I use my Zoom Manfrotto magnetic pieces, so I just slapped it on the back. So now I want to talk about the linear prism filter. So this is basically a bunch of prisms kind of lined up, so it's several pieces of glass sort of lined up straight. And what this does is it creates a cool imaging effect, so you get multiple images of whatever your subject is in the frame. And the cool thing is you can actually rotate this, so the actual filter rotates on top, and this allows you to move those so that you can move the subject and reflections left and right and swirl them around. And I gotta say, although this is slightly one-trick pony like I was saying before, I do like this, and I think it could come in really cool handy for music videos, trippy scenes if you want someone to be like drunk or they took a drug or something where their mind has been altered. But I also think from just a sort of kind of cool, and I don't know, it just has a very unique look to it where I definitely feel like a music video in particular this could really be handy for. And obviously things like beauty shots or maybe perfume or product photography or even product video, of course, this could be really handy because of those multiple reflections and the way they sort of fade off in a gradual gradient. You could easily have elements of light leaking through and of course showing off a product. That would be really fun and a great way to use this filter. So when it comes to the pros of both of these, I must say I've been pretty impressed with the build quality, especially for the price. The lens and the glass feels really sturdy and nice. It looks quality. It doesn't seem like it's degrading the image whatsoever. I also love that these come with a really nice carrying case. I thought these cases are actually super nice Velcro, and they just feel like firm and it's gonna actually protect the filter. Now when it comes to the cons of these, again, I think that the Dream FX filter really doesn't have any cons in my opinion, but I will say the linear prism is slightly a one-trick pony. Of course, it does one thing, and so do all of their other lens filters. So those are all things you have to keep in mind when you are purchasing these. And they're not the cheapest things in the world, but I think they're fairly budget friendly when it comes to actually lens filter effects like this. So I do think if you are looking for lens filter effects, I do think that these are very cool. I've been very, very happy with them, and I think that the image that comes out has been really great. So anyway, you can see these things are totally cool, they're fun, they're great to use. I think they can really add a lot to any video, whether it's music video, narrative, commercial, or whatever you're doing. So I definitely think they're worth the money. Like I said, you just have to keep in mind that some of these more one-trick pony ones, like the linear prism or some of the other prisms or effects they have, they're only going to do that one thing. Now, of course, it's only limited by your creativity, so you could always figure out ways to do that much more with them. But do keep that in mind when you are purchasing these. Otherwise, I've been super happy, so I am going to link them down in the description below. Be sure to check those out. Of course, be sure to like, comment, subscribe as always, and be sure to check out our We Are Film podcast down below, as well as my new podcast called the #Date Night Podcast, where me and my girlfriend actually look at movies on date night and we talk about them. So anyway guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later.